This episode, welcome to Alaska. Well, guess what, folks? I am here. And I want to tell you, I'm going to lay this out in my hand. It's 5:00 in the morning, and I'm not kidding. So if I sound a little rough, too bad.
Yes, it is. It's 5:00. And for you.
Welcome to the Handyman Pros Radio Show. Home improvement and maintenance tips from the pros.
Thanks for listening to another edition of the Handyman Pros Radio Show, where our goal is to help save you time, money, and aggravation on your home maintenance and repair. This edition is entitled Welcome to Alaska, and I am here with my ever cheerful co-host and old buddy, Johnny. Johnny, what is going on today? What do you got going on in Atlanta, Johnny? What's going on?
Well, it's been nonstop rain, and, just like it is up there, we're 4 hours in difference right now. And, you had a pretty exciting trip up there, and it sounds like it's been pretty exciting. For me down here, not much. It's just the usual, replacing rotten wood. When I'm doing that, I've got further golf cart repairs. I am the golf cart guy now. And I've got some wallboard work to do. So,
This is usual.
You escaped it all.
It sounds like I did. Which is not bad.
But you've got an exciting project that we're going to get into. So go ahead, Larry.
Yeah, I do. All right. Well, folks, before we get started, just please like and subscribe to our shows because we appreciate it. Folks, if you're listening on audio too, you might want to flip over to YouTube, just because we've got probably from about the next 90 days, we're going to be doing a lot of videos just because I'm here and I can shoot video on my phone. So just FYI, you probably want to watch it on YouTube at this point. But we're still going to talk about it. So
yeah, or Spotify. They can get it on Spotify too.
Oh, that's true. That's right.
Yeah.
I forgot. Thanks, John. Yeah, thanks for reminding me. I forgot about that. If you're on Spotify, you can get the video side too. So, Johnny, one of my coworkers they're 20. I work with a bunch of 20 somethings, and so I told them I had a podcast. They're all like, "Oh my god," So anyway, so she's like, "Oh, you've got video on Spotify." I was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot. We have video on Spotify." So anyway, it was kind of fun.
Yeah, that's good.
We're going to do some interviews with those people coming up. There's a couple of guys. This is very show appropriate. I've got a couple of young guys. They're both, I think they're 19, and when they get done here, they are going into an apprentice program, one for electrical and one for HVAC. So I actually want to do an interview with those two guys because we'll talk about, young guys going into the trades.
Yes.
Anyway, this show is not about that. This show is about Welcome to Alaska. So, let's just say that Gustavus, Alaska is something else, and getting here is half the battle. So, Johnny's you want to roll the video now, John?
Yeah, let's
roll the video.
We're going to show you a little video that I put together for with Larry's some of Larry's video and some pictures,
and some pictures.
Yes. So one of the first things we wanted to do is kind of get you acclimated to where in the hell Larry's actually at.
So obviously this is a map of Alaska. Johnny, I can't see your cursor, but I know you can circle Juneau.
Yes.
And if you would look, and in this picture, if you're looking at it the way I'm looking at it, we are in the right-hand bottom corner, basically.
Yes. Yeah. So Larry had to fly into Juneau.
Which I found out, John, and I did not know this. Juneau does not have any roads that go to it. So you have to either fly into Juneau or you have to take a boat basically into Juneau. And that I found to be very interesting. And if you look, I think on that map, you see all that white stuff there? Those are ice fields. And so there's no roads that come across the ice fields into Juneau. And Juneau is the capital of Alaska, by the way, if you didn't know that. So it's kind of interesting. If you're going to get to Juneau, you got to come by boat. Or by boat or by air. And they do have there's the Alaskan Maritime the Alaskan Maritime Ferry, which runs this ferry service basically all over Southeast Alaska, because if you look at that map, you can see most of Southeast Alaska is island type situations. So Anyway, run that to the next one, John.
Yeah. So let's let me advance the video here a little bit.
Yeah.
And so, the main thing I wanted to get across to everybody is this is really the state of Alaska up here. And this is where Larry is down here. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to zoom in.
Right.
And yeah, go ahead, Larry.
Well, just so this is a picture of effectively that to the right-hand side is Juneau. Right there, basically in the center of the frame is you can see Gustavus, and that piece of water that you see there that looks like a strait is called the Icy Strait. The left-hand side of that picture is the Pacific Ocean, and the white stuff you see up on top of those parts of the map are ice fields. Again, those are true ice fields. Those are the ice fields that feed the glaciers that go to Glacier Bay, which is also right next to Gustavus. So it's Glacier Bay National Park. And we'll talk a bit about that because John's actually, we've put some video up together of that shows being on there's a boat tour, a day called the Day Boat Tour, and you can take the boat and run up Glacier Bay. And we did that this year. We did it as a staff. So everybody went, and it was a good time. So anyway, let's look at the next one, John, because we want to show the expansive town of Gustavus, Alaska. And there it is.
So, yeah, there you have it. The biggest thing there is the airport.
Is the airport. That's correct. And we are up there to the right. It's the Glacier Bay Bear Track Inn. And there are essentially there is a Four Corners crossroads that has a gas station and it has a cafe. Being that we are very close to the Pacific Northwest, everybody around here is big into coffee, and so they have a coffee shop there as well. And the liquor store happens to be right behind that. That's probably the third most popular place in all of Gustavus. And it's kind of funny, John. You know, we laugh. I told you this earlier, but here in Gustavus, because it's effectively a one-store town, the liquor store opens at 4 and closes at like 7. And every day there is a line waiting to get in the liquor store because they're only open 3 hours a day. I guess when you're dealing drugs and you're the only game in town, you set your own hours, right?
Yeah. Yeah. When you're that popular.
When you're that popular. One of the funny things is there's 4 basic roads and a crossroads, and that's it. There's some side streets and things in Gustavus, but pretty much you can't get lost. But for us to get to the airport, we have to go out and around the south end of the airstrip. So it takes us about 30 minutes to get to the airport on a gravel road, very gravel road. It's very, very rough.
Oh, wow.
So one does not go much more than about 20 miles an hour, or you will have no suspension in the vans left. So we drive pretty slowly, until there is some paved roads, but it's not much. We're just going to be honest. It's not much. So it's rural America, folks. Gustavus has, according to the 2020 census, has 600 and something people as residents here. What I've been told is that there's about 250 what you would call full-time residents. A lot of people use this. They have cabins here, and they use this as their address for tax reasons. So, Alaska has no state income tax and things like that. So for tax reasons, they have their cabin, and that's where they use their address. So the census comes up with 655. The reality is it's about 200. And during the season, which is the summer season, the population triples. So there are actually about 600 people that live here in the summer,
wow.
Right, which is now. So
wow.
Pretty big when the population triples, Johnny? To 600.
Yes, sir.
We laugh because, gosh, the county that I live in has 130,000 people in it, and it's about the same size, So
yes, no kidding.
Anyway, all right, run the rest of it.
So what we've got here is, let's see here. Okay, Larry.
So this is the picture from walking out the terminal in the Juneau, Alaska airport. And I just took the picture because when I landed, and this is interesting, I've been here for a week now, and when I landed, there was lots of snow on the mountaintops. And these mountains are about 3,000 feet, roughly, give or take 3,000 to 6,000 feet in altitude, which is not really all that high. The average temperatures here in the mornings have been in the 40s, and in the afternoons it's about 51. But I really love when I came in, I'm like, oh my God, there's a lot of snow on the mountaintops, and there was. It's starting to. I've actually seen on the ones that I can see from the house here that I actually can see the snow has started to melt. But anyway, beautiful place to land. This is what you get out to. So it's pretty cool. It's just gorgeous. You really, if you've never been to Alaska, you got to come. So we jumped to get to Gustavus. I jumped on a Cessna Caravan, and a Cessna Caravan is basically a bigger Cessna 172. It's a small plane. There were 4 people on the flight, and that's all that there was seating for. So that first picture that you saw was actually the Juneau Airport from the air, and this is a picture of the icy straits. So in the icy straits, and there aren't any in there right now, but there are cruise ships that come up in there, and they go up into Juneau, and they go around, they go to Glacier Bay and stuff. But that's the icy straits. So.
Were they bringing anything else on that caravan up there since they were making that flight? Yeah, that's what I thought, because that thing can haul some stuff. But
yeah, and they carry cargo over every time they do a flight.
Yeah,
anything from food to supplies to whatever, because it's the only way in.
Well,
you can do it. You can either do it on the ferry or you can do it by air. But if they're sending a flight over with people on it, they load the caravan up.
Right. So, sure.
Johnny, I've never been on one. It's a cool plane, man. I looked at it. I'm like, I could fly this plane. This is easy.
It's a high wing. Yeah. It's
a high wing, and it flies really like a small 172. I was watching the guy set up for approach for landing and stuff. I was like, this is nothing. I could fly this plane, little practice. I need to get used to it being a turboprop, but that's the only difference. Anyway, sorry, aviation stuff. All right.
Hey, Alex Larry from the Handyman Pros Radio Show. I am here out in front of my Bear Track Inn, Glacier Bay Bear Track Inn, and I just wanted to show you some pictures. This is out in front of the lodge. It's a pretty big place. We've got a whole lot of stuff going on. I'm going to do a little spin around here and just do some of the looks. So you see some mountains there in the background, and believe it or not, there's still quite a bit of snow here in May up on the mountains. So I just thought I would share some quick video with y'all and show you where I'm going to spend about the next 90 days or so. Talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye.
And there's our sign.
So Larry just introed where he's spending the next 90 days.
Yep.
So we're going to get some pretty interesting stories here. I'll go ahead and
we've got stories.
That's a cool lodge.
Yeah, that's the lodge. And so the lodge itself, I'm just going to get into it. The lodge was built about 20 to 25 years ago. I can't remember exactly. It is on their website, which is beartrackinn.com. But it was built, and it literally was assembled, I think in Oregon. I think it was built in Oregon. It was completely assembled, and then completely disassembled. Each log was marked, and it was shipped up here to Gustavus. They poured the concrete footers all the way around it, which is really interesting. We'll get into some of that, because what part of my job here is to build the sauna. And so we've got a whole nother video on doing on the dig and the stuff for the sauna build. So, but, just to I know I'll say it again in the other video, but the water table is about 2 feet down, maybe 3 feet down. I guess it's not very far. So they poured concrete footers for this whole lodge, and there's 24 rooms in this lodge, plus accommodations for staff as well. And it's just gorgeous. And it sits nestled in close to the woods. You saw it in that last video. Out in front of us is basically a giant, it's kind of like it's tall grass. It's about 3 foot grass. It's about 3 feet tall, and it's a very, very big plain directly in front of us. Behind us is all woods. And this is temperate rainforest. This is some of the thickest woods I think I've ever seen. It's like being in the jungle when we were in Costa Rica. It is crazy thick, except it's cold, or colder, I should say. So anyway, it's incredible.
Yeah, that is really an interesting story about that place.
Yeah, these
beautiful
are some of the
place
from the website. Yeah, it's beautiful. That's that kind of
plane in the back, right?
Yeah. Well, the plane, not PLANE, PLAIN.
Yeah, right.
That's actually in front, and out in front of us there is that's the icy straits. So it's a bay in the icy straits is what it is. So you can see it off in the distance and the property line goes all the way down to that beach. So it's a good distance.
Wow.
Yep, sure does. So yeah, it's truly an amazing place. Our dining room. That is the look out my window when so I stay in a house that's right next to it, but that's what I see besides that JLG lift, which is supposed to have been moved, but it got stuck in the mud. So it's kind of sitting there right now. We're going to figure out how we're going to get it out because it's a big one. But they were working on, there's some cameras on that tower up there that we do for security reasons. And the security here is for the security in the off season, because Alaskans have this unique thing of like, if you're bored in the middle of winter and you have nothing to do, let's go see what other people have.
Yeah.
You know, that's that kind of thing. It literally is that. That's what I work with. One of the guys I work with, his name's Steve, and he lives here full time. And so I've got kind of the inside scoop of what goes on in Gustavus after the fact, you know, and like after the season. And he's just like, yeah, people get bored, you know, and I'm like, yeah, I get it. You know, I get it. So anyway, but that's what I wake up to every morning. And right there on the right side of that picture too, there are these bird feeders. And that's also when I walk out on the front deck, that's what I look at.
And so Larry, you're going to describe the site here. I'll let the video roll here for you.
So Larry, we're here at the Gustavus Bear Track Inn, and we're actually doing this dig right behind you. You can see me. So we're doing a foundation. We're going to do a 12 by 24 sauna. We're actually building a sauna on this facility. Started to do the excavation. Wanted to kind of go through some things about Gustavus. This is it's in Gustavus, Alaska, which sits at the mouth of Glacier Bay. Probably about 200 years ago, this was actually covered by a glacier. And what's most interesting in this dig is we're going down about 4 feet, and we're actually going through the different layers of strata that have occurred from the glacier being here. It's really quite interesting to me anyway. We start off, they've poured a layer of sand out over the top, which is fine just to level off the area. We go through a definite topsoil version of earth, which is very brown in color, and where there's a lot of trees and things that grow around. You can see this is actually temperate rainforest. So rains here almost every day. We happen to have a sunny morning this morning, which is fine. Probably rain later this afternoon, kind of the way it goes. But this was, you go through this layer of topsoil, then you get into this layer of, it's kind of a gravelish-like material. It's brown in color, and it's really what you see on the beach. And then you get below that, and you go through this real crust. There's like a crust layer, and it is hard to push through with the digging equipment. And so it's called a post hole digger. Anyway, it's tough to push through. Once you get through that, you get into this clay silty stuff. And I just sort of wanted to show you some of this. You can see a bit of it here in some of these things that I've dug. I'm just going to walk backwards here. I will do some other videos on some of this stuff, but you can see what we're looking at. This is kind of the sand that's here. And then as you come over here, you'll see this clay material that's over here. And it's really, really quite nasty. It's like the consistency of clay, of really wet clay. And when we get down in the hole, I'll take a picture down here in the hole, you can see where the clay is, and you can see somewhat the layers of the striations of the dirt that comes up. It's just kind of interesting. I find it fascinating to go through through layers through time here in this dig. So with that, we're going to give you more on this build. We'll do some more videos on some of the other things that happen here at the Bear Track Inn. We're going to do a lot of fishing videos come later on in a bit, but right now we're in the midst of this build, and we'll talk to you soon.
That's very interesting, you know, with all the strata and all that. Now let me ask you, you know, when you dug those holes, dug those holes, are they concreting into those holes, or what is that? Is that for the foundation, the footers, or?
So what we're doing is we're going to build this on piers, and they've actually been poured already. We'll do that in another show, because we'll show some other things too, you know, along with the piers. But we built mushroom piers, right? So folks, if you don't know what a mushroom pier is, it's when you dig out in the bottom, you open it up, and you just kind of open it up down at the bottom. And what I did was I put dry concrete down there. I poured in a couple of bags of dry concrete and spread it out, and that makes the bottom is wider than and we use sauna tubes over the top. So we put in the dry concrete with some rebar down into it, you know, straight down into it, just to kind of bind everything all together, and then put the sauna tube on the top of that, and then poured real concrete in the sauna tube. So, and then we filled in around the sauna tube, so no concrete got down around the side. So what it does is it makes a base down in the bottom that's bigger than the actual tube. It gives you more structural support and things. Three of those holes, the three holes that you see on the right side of this picture, actually we ended up in the water table. So I dug 3 wells, Johnny. I didn't do it on purpose, but you know, water literally started seeping up into the holes. Fortunately, as you know, concrete dries underwater, so it doesn't really matter. But it's just interesting that the water table is right there. There is a stream right there too. I don't know if you can see it in that picture, if you can tell what it is, but there's a stream right there. And it, you would think that I would have
over
thought
to the right there. Yeah.
it's over to the left actually.
Oh, I
And
can't
so
see it.
it's, you can't see it, but that left side is a stream. And I would have thought that those would have been the holes that filled up. Nope. It was the opposite side. So whatever, just whatever. Right. Everybody asks, how come the water? They're like looking going, why is the
So
water
I do
in
have a
these?
couple of questions coming up. Go ahead.
Yeah. So this is the actual site before we did any of the digging. That's the actual site with nothing on it before we started work. So it sits really in the woods, my friend. I found out later that they had a bear that used to bed down right next to this site. I'm like, oh, thanks for telling me that now. And it's not. It was a black bear.
The last guy never came back.
Yeah, the last guy. He did. It was called Burp.
Yeah, right.
It was a black bear, and they actually had him named, and they actually haven't seen him in a while, so they're afraid he got eaten by a brown bear. So brown bears eat grizzly bears, grizzly bears eat black bears, which is a whole different issue. But anyway, I can't see that. What's that picture, John? This
looks
that's
like the sonotubes.
Yeah, that's sonotubes going
in. Yeah. So this is in progress here. Okay.
And I just wanted to talk a little bit about the geology. I know I talked about it a little bit in the video, but about 200 years ago, this whole facility that you're looking at, the whole facility, including the lodge, was covered with a glacier. It's called the Great Pacific Glacier. And it came down Glacier Bay all the way down and covered us. This is what you get 200 years later. That forest is so thick. It's crazy. It was hard to believe that it's that short a time frame, but it's that short a time frame. It was historically known to be here in the late 1700s, and it retreated in a pretty rapid clip. And right now, that Great Pacific Glacier is about 65 miles from here, from where we sit, up Glacier Bay.
So what's the movement on that thing? Is it still retreating or is it advancing?
It is retreating, but there are others that are advancing, and they literally sit right next to each other. And so some are advancing and some are retreating. We'll get into it actually.
At another time. Interesting. Good stuff to come. But I do have some questions, like I said, coming up here as soon as I do have some questions on this. Okay. This is materials, right? This is some of the materials for the for that sauna.
Of the materials. Yes, some of the materials.
You mentioned the concrete before. It's got to be pretty expensive, I would think. I don't know. You tell me, to bring heavy stuff over because you're out in the middle of nowhere. It's got to be on boat.
It came on the ferry.
Yes,
it came on the ferry. So the logistics of getting it over here, the lodge owns one. It's about a 20-foot flatbed truck with a lift gate. And how this works is there is a Home Depot in Juneau. It is now in my app. But what they did is they put an order in, and they got a pallet of concrete blocks and a pallet of concrete, and they took the truck over on the ferry over to Juneau, loaded up the truck with that, and every time they go to Juneau, they bring all kinds of things back because, again, you do it while you can. So they have a 25.5, medium duty truck, and it comes back loaded to the teeth, including the pallets of concrete and the pallets of brick. And it takes about 4 days at this point because this ferry schedule has changed. So it used to be you went over, you had a day, and you came back because the ferry you'd leave here in the morning and get back and come back in the morning out of Juneau. That's changed. They've changed the schedule. So now it's a 4-day trip, and it's not terribly expensive to get on the ferry compared to other things. I think I want to say with the truck, it's a couple of $100, which is much less money than trying to carry or fly it all in, because you wait for.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. But this was interesting as we move along here, is that this is interesting that, when you first sent me this picture, I noticed that wood there is the real deal.
So the wood is actually, there's a milling, a lumber mill, a true lumber mill that cuts trees and turns it into lumber that's across icy straits from us in a town called Hoona. And so she ordered the lumber, and it's kind of funny. This is true dimension lumber. I was not aware of that at the time, but it's come in and it's true dimension lumber. And the main beams that we have for the sauna are 6 by 12 by 24. They are basically a tree.
Yeah,
they weigh the same as a tree. We moved them the other day. It took 4 guys to pick them up.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, you know, the people around my neighborhood, you know, they're putting beams up or redoing their basements to try to, you know, eliminate poles or whatever, you know, in the basement. We kill for stuff like this.
And this is I believe it's Sitka spruce. It's like perfectly straight. You know, the trees themselves are really, really straight, which is nice from a lumber standpoint.
Yeah.
And it's all fairly rough. Yeah. So we took the Glacier Bay boat tour, and this is just a picture of some of the things that you'll see on the Glacier Bay boat tour. The tour starts at about 7 in the morning, and it's an all-day gig. You run up to the end of Glacier Bay, and you go up and actually see some of the glaciers. We'll do some more on this, you know, in some future episodes, but. This is somewhere here you'll see some whale spouts. So we got on some whales. We didn't mean to. They actually ended up coming up next to the boat. And when I mean next to the boat, they were next to the boat, you know, like 30, 40 yards, if that even. One of them came up about 30 feet from the boat. These are a little farther off, but I got these pictures because you can see the spouts and the blowholes. And I think there's a picture of a fluke where you actually see the tail. It's really something. This boat trip it's on like an 80-foot catamaran, and it's really great. The captain gets you in. I mean, he knows, he's been doing it a while, and he knows where to go, you know, so I should say she. But anyway, she knows where to go, and she does a great job, really, really good job. Drives this 80-foot catamaran into places that I should have gotten some pictures, and I didn't. But like 20 feet from these.
Yeah. So are those whales usually? They're always hanging out there, right? Or what?
Well, there are always whales, or it seems like there's always whales in Glacier Bay, at least in the summer season. They come from what I've been told by people much smarter than I, cetologists, actually people that study whales, is they get pictures of the flukes, and the fluke of a whale is much like a fingerprint on a person. And so they've been tracking some of these whales for 25 or 30 years. And these whales go one of two places in the wintertime. They either go to Hawaii, which sounds great to me. That's actually what the owners of the lodge do. They go to Hawaii in the wintertime.
Yeah, these whales aren't stupid, man. They're
not stupid. Or they go to Mexico, which is actually pretty good in the wintertime too, right? Yeah. So they either go to Mexico or they go to Hawaii. Yeah. And we actually, when we went on a cruise last year on the National Geographic cruise, not that matters, but we had a cetologist on board, and they took some pictures of the whales. And they actually, I can't remember the name of the website. I'll look it up. I'll try to get it out to where everybody can see it. But they took pictures of these flukes, and they had tracked these whales. One of the whales they had been tracking for 25 years, where it went to, I believe that one went to Hawaii. And they have tracks of it back and forth to Hawaii for the last 25 years, and they actually show the path. It's a pretty straight line, believe it or not. It's it's very interesting. But yeah, for the last 25 years, that they go down to Hawaii to give birth to their calves and stuff. They come up here to eat.
Are they tagged?
They're not tagged. How they know is, again, it's that they get the pictures of the flukes. Yeah, the flukes.
They know exactly. They know exactly just from that, huh? Wow.
All the market, they're all marked different, and some of them have different shapes, you know, but mostly it's the coloration. So they usually have a little white on them, and it's everyone is unique and individual. So they track.
That's interesting. So in this picture, I was just going to say that's really interesting. Before I go on to this picture, so I wonder, they must have like a whole cat. I mean, I wonder how many of these whales they're tracking.
I can't remember. It's many thousands of whales that they now have in the database. And I was just going to mention that here's one of the things. This comes from the cetologist from the National Geographic Association. So this is not me. This is just me regurgitating what they told us. AI has helped them identify these whales like at light speed, right? So where it used to be when you sent a picture of a fluke in, somebody had to go through and match it, and it took weeks weeks and weeks and weeks before
Oh,
they
I
could
see what
match
they're
it.
doing. Yeah.
Today, they'll get it to you tomorrow
Mm-hmm.
because of AI. AI just goes in and just scans the database, and of course
Mm-hmm.
it does. It does basically facial recognition. It does fluke recognition, and I just thought that was so cool. I
Wow.
was like, that's really a great use
Yeah.
of AI.
Interesting.
So anyway,
In this picture here these are all sea lions hanging out.
sea lions, yes. There's an island out in the center of Glacier Bay where these sea lions, they're everywhere, dude. And do they smell? Woo, it's like yuck. They're big and they're kind of nasty. But on this island, there's all kinds of birds and sea lions, and there's no seals, but the wildlife is abundant. We didn't have good pictures. Yeah, that's more sea lions. I didn't get good pictures, but we're going to show another video here in a minute or two, but there's all kinds of birds. If you're a bird person, there's things like pelagic cormorants and things.
Okay.
Yeah,
and then there goes Mama Bear, right?
Yeah. That is an Alaskan brown bear, which is a grizzly bear that lives on the ocean, basically. So it is the same species as an inland grizzly bear. It's just it eats a different diet, so they call it a brown bear. And that particular bear was about 800 pounds. We guessed about 800. So pretty good size one. Not huge, but big enough. Probably if it were to stand up, which it doesn't in this video, if it were to stand up, it'd probably be 10 to 12 feet tall.
Yeah, when you first sent this to me, I was like, boy, that's a lot of skin and hair moving there. Just shaking around, boy. That's a big animal. That's a big animal. Well, Larry, we're at the end of this thing here. Let me go back to our thing. That was really interesting. Those are some great pictures.
We'll get a lot more. I've seen some moose, but I haven't been close enough to get good pictures. Yesterday I came out of the shop, and this was actually quite rare. I come out of the shop, I got pictures of it. We'll do it in another show, but come out the door, literally, and there's a deer standing there, like from not very far away, and it was a little button buck, but I showed the pictures to the owners, and some of the locals are like, "Oh my God, we never see deer here." So anyway,
really?
There was a deer. They just don't. They don't. Well, basically, the locals kill them all. I hate to say it. It's partially that, but also the locals include both the people and the bears. The bears will eat them.
Oh yeah.
So and in the wintertime, this place doesn't get a tremendous amount of snow, but it gets enough snow to give the bears the advantage. So they were really shocked. I showed a picture of a deer, and I haven't determined what kind of deer it is. I think it's a western black-tailed deer, I think is what it is. Not 100%. I got a pretty good look at it, but not a great look. But anyway, there are moose. I've seen several moose, but they've been so far off I can't get a good picture. And we've seen both black bears and grizzly bears. That one we showed in the video was a grizzly bear, but there's black bears here as well. Black bears. So regular bears that you get in the East or whatever.
So besides all this wildlife, you are embarking on a project to build this sauna, and this sauna, yes. And that's one of the reasons there's two reasons that you're there, but maybe more, but one of them is to help build this sauna, right?
It's to build this, to build the sauna, and then as you saw, that's a very large lodge. So I have spent probably up to date, I've spent more time doing handymanning in the lodge because we just opened. We literally just opened yesterday, but we spent a lot of time just doing handymanning to get the lodge ready to open up. And it's just simple things, but there's nothing is simple here from the standpoint of it and I know I've said it about 1 million times, but John, we were replacing the aerators on the sinks, right? So there's like 30 sinks all the way through the facility, and somebody last year took them off, and I don't know who, and it doesn't matter, but they took them off and they put them in some kind of chemical and they let it sit there all winter long. Well, it stripped the finish off the aerators. Oh yeah. So they looked like
probably stuck them in some vinegar or something, and that'll do it.
The water here is very hard. There's a lot of mineral in it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they stuck them in vinegar or whatever, but they left them in the vinegar. So I go to
Oops.
put them on, and yeah, oops. I go to put them on. Now remember, there's 30 of them, right? It's
Right.
not like, it's not one or two. This isn't your house. There's 24 rooms and a bunch of auxiliaries, bathrooms, and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh my God, we can't put these on. They look like,
Yeah.
fecal matter. They look bad. So fortunately, two things happened. One is they already had a pack of extra ones in stock, which was about nine or 10. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. About half the total stock.
You
So
mean now in stock at the Home Depot you talked about earlier?
no, in stock here.
In
So
stock there.
yeah. So fortunately, the owners have come to well, they've been here for a long time, so they kind of get the gig. But they keep. We have a storehouse of. It makes my truck look unstocked.
I
mean,
get it.
There's that you have to have things in inventory. Because
Yeah, that's
not
a
take
shame to
stuff.
have to wrap up some bucks in inventory, but
Yep.
you got to do it versus
You got to do it
versus the
Yeah.
logistics of getting everything there.
versus the
the
logistics,
cost.
and that. So they had 9 of them, and fortunately, we had somebody in Juneau. Literally had somebody coming in. One of their sons was coming in from Juneau, and so before he got on the airplane to come over, he did a trip over to Home Depot, and we bought every single one that was in Home Depot,
I was
which
gonna
was enough to
say.
get it done.
No kidding.
So yeah, everything here is, you have to pre-plan everything. And we started working on this list for the sauna back in September of last year. So because remember, I have to every screw, and there's a lot of engineering on the fly because you have no choice. You just don't have any choice. So anyway, it's interesting. But
It
the sauna
it is interesting. And
we're
hey
gonna do
folks,
this.
yeah, I was gonna say this really does tie in with the show that we did the other week about the traveling handyman. And here you are.
Here I am.
You just didn't go to the next town.
No,
no,
it's not
no. You had
town.
you had to go all the way to Alaska from Atlanta.
We are 4 time zones different. So Johnny is 4 time zones ahead of me, and that's why it's 5:00 in the morning, and I have to do it. So I have to go to work today, which is no big deal, and I don't mind it. But I have to get up early because plus John has things to do, and it just works out.
So yeah. So you can't see Russia from your house, right?
No, not here.
like the old joke there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you could jump across and maybe get a little handyman work over there if you spoke Russian or something.
Do svidaniya,
Yeah,
right.
Little Diomedes up there,
Sure.
Well, that's really interesting. So, let me ask you this, Larry. What do you as we move forward, because you're going to be up there for, I think, 90 days? That's 3
About
months.
90 days. Yep, about 3 months.
So, what can we expect? What do you think at this point, you're going to be as we move forward with these, with our shows? Because this is really great pictures, really interesting stories.
Well, probably the biggest thing that we're going to do as far as the show goes is we're really going to focus on this sauna build. So, I have the main beams put in place. There's some things I need to shoot some pictures of, and I did not get video of us moving the beams. I wish I had, because it was literally like we're building the pyramids. Anyway, we're going to do the sauna build. We'll do a lot of stuff for the sauna build, and you'll just get to see. This is basically building. It's 12 by 24, and the sauna is a kit too. So I am not doing the engineering on the sauna per se, but we're building a 12 by 24 shed, and then we're putting the sauna inside of it. It has windows around the edge, and then we're going to put a deck on the outside of the actual building.
Oh, nice.
So it's really this is going to be a bunch of build videos. It's a little bit different than what we're, I guess, call it traditionally used to building in either Atlanta, or John and I both grew up in the north, or Johnny in Chicago or me in Rochester. It's a little bit different than that, just because the soil's a little different and things like that. But and plus there's earthquakes here, so we had to do a little planning for earthquakes. Anyway, so we're going to go through all of that. If there's good maintenance items, we'll also go through some of those. Now, one thing that I did yesterday that I am going to go out and shoot some pictures of is I cut a log bench out of some great big pieces of wood that we were actually getting ready to throw away, and I did it with a chainsaw. So I'm now a chainsaw artist as well. whatever.
You'll be the guy in the corner cutting out the wood to make it look like a bear standing up and all that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Got it.
I'm not.
Got
but,
it. Got it.
But I did make these benches, and it's kind of funny. I have some young guys that I was working with, and I'm looking at these things, and I had to cut the logs smaller and smaller because these logs are probably, boy, they're so thick. I have to cut them round robin with a 16-inch blade, right? Because it's thicker than the blade. And I'm like, these sons of guns are heavy. And then I'm looking at it, I'm going, we can make a bench, and then we don't have to move it, So I'm like, okay, we're going to do that. So anyway, I'll do some pictures of that.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've got so it sounds like we got some, we got some interview perhaps that we can do. We can get, this is interesting because there's going to be a lot of things, as you kind of uncover what's going on up there to take pictures and videos and things like that. So, folks, give us some feedback on this. This Alaska adventure for the traveling handyman is pretty interesting.
Yeah. There's just a whole lot of just, work to keep the facility up. It's everything. Like I've already done some not landscaping per se, but done some lawn maintenance and things. I did yesterday. Didn't install, but I cleaned up the horseshoe pits. We have horseshoe pits here, and so I forgot how they have to be nice and sandy, and so I dug them. I didn't dug them. I just turned them, but raked them out. Yeah, nice.
What else are you going to do up there?
Yeah, partly that. Well, the other thing I found out is there's a big event on the 4th of July, and supposedly it's like a big deal to win the horseshoe event because it's like bragging rights in the town, So
I
guess
bet.
Guess who's going to be throwing horseshoes?
Yeah, that guy. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, this is a good. This is hopefully, folks, that you really like this. It's very interesting to me. That's for sure. And you're not going to get this anywhere else in a handyman show. We pulled out all stops to send Larry to Alaska.
He did not.
Next time Larry's going to Antarctica, right?
No, he's never going to Antarctica. That's a guarantee. Trust me, he is not going to that. All right, Johnny, I got to go because the sun's out.
Yeah, yep. I
live
see
in a temperate rainforest now, and the sun is out. Time to go.
Okay, folks, we're going to wrap this up. Thanks for joining us in the Handyman Pros Radio Show. Stay safe, and we'll see you next week on the Handyman Pros Radio Show.